Okay, understanding students with ADHD. So before we really dive into it, I wanted to just start with some fast facts. So according to the American Psychiatric Association, or APA, they report that 5% of American children have ADHD, but the Centers for Disease Control, or the CDC, claims that the number is more than double that at 11%. And along with that, males are about 3 times more likely to be diagnosed than females are with ADHD, and the average age for diagnosis is 7 years old, although the symptoms of it usually appear between ages 3 and 6. So, the specific behaviors and characteristics of ADHD are not the same across the board. There are inattentive symptoms, as well as, on the other hand, there's hyperactive or impulsive symptoms. So, the inattentive symptoms can look like kids who are easily distracted or sidetracked. They can't pay attention to one thing for too long. They have difficulty following directions. They have trouble with organization, so these can be the kids that have a really messy backpack or their desks are just all covered in clutter. And they often fail to finish their homework or they lose their homework and they're not able to turn it in. On the other hand, the hyperactive or impulsive characteristics can look like they have a hard time sitting still, so they often will be fidgety or squirming around in their seat. They're extremely impatient. They won't wait to be called on when a question is asked in the classroom. Oftentimes they'll just blurt out their answer. And they'll have trouble playing quietly. So those are just a few. And also, there seems to be a difference between boys and girls who have ADHD. So boys tend to be diagnosed much earlier as well as much more often than girls are, and the symptoms between them can be different. Girls are often diagnosed at a later age because their symptoms are more subtle, so they're more likely to have those inattentive symptoms that I just mentioned rather than the hyperactive ones. So, the cases and diagnosis of ADHD have increased 42% between 2003 and 2011, which is pretty high. An estimated 6.4 million children ages 4 to 17 have been diagnosed. So there were 2 studies that have found that the youngest children in their class are disproportionately diagnosed with ADHD. The first study, there was one done in Michigan that found that kindergartners who were the youngest in their grade are 60 times more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD than the oldest in their grade. And then the second one, there was done in North Carolina, and it found that students in the 5th and 8th grade that were the youngest were also twice as likely as the oldest to be prescribed medication for ADHD. So that is interesting. And the dramatic increase in the number of children being diagnosed with ADHD could have to do with the fact that doctors are jumping to that conclusion too quickly, because the symptoms of ADHD can be similar to other problems. So an easy solution could be prescribing medication to treat this rather than figuring out what else is going on. And then if you think about how much money is being made off of the ADHD medication, it's a lot considering how many students are on it and apparently need it. So that could be a factor as well. So under IDEA, ADHD is covered under the other health impairment, not specific learning disabilities like a lot of other things. So they may be able to receive help in school if the attention issues meet the law's standards for a qualifying disability. Alright, so here are a couple effective class-wide interventions. One could be class-wide peer tutoring. So this has been found to be pretty effective because it provides frequent and immediate feedback, which has been found to help students dramatically. Another one could be breaking longer projects up into manageable parts. So obviously all students can benefit from taking a mental break from time to time. So breaking up those long projects of sitting there doing the same thing can be helpful. And then providing instructions that are short and specific. So giving too many instructions or too much detail can leave room for the kids to forget some, or just get overwhelmed with how much they're supposed to do. So if we just make them short and specific, that can be helpful as well. And then a big one, I think, is planning for physical movement throughout the day. So it could be something as simple as getting up to take a walk, or even just like getting up to stretch out of their seat. So if they're able to get their body moving and give their minds a break, they can come back better to focus on their work again. So, and here is my We're Excited. Thank you.